So for today's weekly Jinx video, for those that don't know, every Wednesday on this channel, we do a Jinx video of some type, whether it's with the lore, the meta, the matchup, anything to do with Jinx, and you decide that topic in the comment section down below. As well as this video acting as a weekly discussion thread video on the Jinx subreddit, League of Jinx, feel free to check that out. As well as like, comment, and subscribe, and all of that jazz, because I appreciate it and it helps the channel. Sorry. Now, for today's topic, what we're going to be talking about, though, is, as usual, every 2 patches, we talk about our expectations and advice we give new Jinx players, what Jinx is going to be like on the new patch, and because, like last time, not much changed about Jinx herself, what I'm going to do again, since some people like the idea that we did last time, is actually talk about some changes to other AD carries, because then the biggest thing that will probably change about Jinx on this patch is her matchups, the bot lane meta. Maybe not so much, because some of these changes to other AD carries aren't that massive, but some of them are maybe big enough that they will change a couple of things, as well as finally ending on noting that there are the AP item changes. So of course, as we mentioned in past videos, just in general, Riot wants to open up the bot lane for the mid-season, so of course in the bottom lane you might start seeing other things besides AD carries to play against, and as Jinx, how would you play against some of those things? So, first and foremost, one of the champions is Kalista. There are actually quite a bit of changes to her, and they're really aimed at pro play more so than solo queue. Pro play, she's really dominant, maybe even a generalist if you will, and so they want to actually kind of make it so that pros can't always pick her, she's not blind pickable and all that stuff. So some of the changes to Kalista include her base AD being lowered from 71 to 66, so she's actually getting the 5 AD nerf that Jinx kind of got as well, but without the compensation minigun buffs, because Kalista doesn't have a minigun. Her base attack speed is actually being increased though from 0.644 to 0.694. Her attack speed per level is increased from 2.5 to 3.5. Her attack range is being lowered from 550 to 525, and I think that one's actually one of the bigger changes in terms of trading, because even Jinx's minigun has the range of 525. So now if she wants to be throwing Rins and Spears and stacking them in you, she's going to have to do it to you in range that you can also hit her back. She can no longer auto-space you just off of auto-attack range alone. Her Sentinel, which is her W, no longer gains attack speed when near her Oathsworn ally. She now instead gains 5, 10, 15, 20, and 25 attack damage. So that kind of gives her the AD back she is losing on her base though, so that would be kind of interesting. And then on her Rend, the mana refund charge from 30 mana to 10, 15, 20, 25, and 30. What that means if you don't play a lot of Kalista is, if she kills a minion or a person with her Rend, it usually used to refund mana up to 30 at all levels, and now will only refund based on level, from 10 all the way back up to 30. So Kalista is an interesting matchup. We briefly talked about her in the last video, in which case, for me personally, one of the reasons I see, or have seen in pro play, that they like to play Tristana into Kalista is because if she is stacking up a lot of spears into you and is going to rend you, and you just can't deal with her that early, Tristana will knock her away out of range of being able to use her rend stacks. When it comes to Jinx, she can kind of do the same thing because of her flame chompers. Kalista hopping around and stuff, if she's closing in on you and you've just taken a really bad trade, you just want to leave the fight because you're afraid she's going to pull the rends and kill you, you can throw down the flame chompers in the path of where she's hopping, use that to gain some distance, and as such, zone her away from being able to pull the spears back out of you, and then just last until, you know, the spears go away. Now, that's not maybe like the best advice, because some people probably want to know how to maybe crush Kalista in lane, and as such, one of the things I like about the auto attack range then is she isn't like Jinx, right? Like Jinx's minigun is 200 or 525 range, but the rocket launcher is going to keep increasing range as the lane goes on. So now Kalista has shorter attack range, and she can't really duel you with the minigun because you're gonna have more attack speed there, because now her W with her Oathsworn ally won't give her attack speed, but instead just attack damage. And on top of that, your rocket launcher is gonna just slowly outscale her too, and you'll be able to actually eventually auto space her as the laning phase goes on. So that change was kind of interesting for that champion. I don't know, because again, in solo queue she's not really as dominant as pro play, if that's really gonna change a lot of things down there, but it might, and as such that might be interesting. If you do play in an elo that sees a lot of Kalista, maybe you can make use of some of these changes when you're playing Jinx to be able to win that lane, or win it better if you already used to win that lane. Kog'Maw is another change. What ended up happening with the last patch is they actually nerfed him a bit too hard. They dropped his on-hit like base damage on his, or on-hit magic damage or whatever it's called, on his W. It used to scale up to 7%. They dropped it down to 5% by max rank, but apparently with Rage Blade and the damage lost there, it was actually a whole 6% of like maximum target health damage that was lost, and it actually dropped him like 6 to 10% in win rate. He went from being like the best AD carry to the worst AD carry, even worse than like Lucian. So they actually are buffing him back up a little bit on that. So instead of being it was 3, 3.5, 4, 4.5, and 5%. on the W. It's going back up to 3, 3.75, 4.5, 5.25, and 6%. So he's gaining a percent on itself, but with Rage Blade, that's probably more like 2 or 3%. So it isn't as bad. They still want it to be a nerf overall, of course, but they don't want the champion to suddenly be really terrible. Now, this matchup is kind of interesting because, like Kog'Maw has been for a while now, he kind of just built the recurve bow and was probably able to just duel like even a Draven. It's actually not okay. Draven is someone that probably should win the lane against Kog'Maw if the Kog'Maw doesn't play well, or the Kog'Maw just has a recurve bow, but has no other lead. And right now, especially with a Janna or Lulu, it was just kind of like not happening. So they wanted to make sure he was weaker, and I bring this up because in a lane against Jinx, you are going to scale later like he will, but he will do a lot more earlier, except for with this change. This change is trying to at least push him back out a little bit. Laning phase can still probably be a bit difficult, but you won't be doing as much damage in those W trades. Again, with the minigun buff to Jinx, she can trade a little bit better with certain AD carries now in lane as well. Kog'Maw's auto attack isn't really super slow to begin with though, especially when he procs a W, so that one might be a little bit more up in the air. But ultimately, even though it is a buff, he's still doing less damage than he was a couple patches ago when he was really monstrous and out of control. So this matchup shouldn't really change too much. It might be still a little bit more of a coin flip since they are giving him a little bit more damage back, and they haven't really addressed like the Rage Blade issue, I think. So we'll see about that going forwards. Another change to the bottom lane, if you will, is Tristana. Now, Tristana is actually getting 2 nerfs, one on this patch that's about to hit live by tomorrow. Patch has been delayed a day because President's Day on Monday here in America, so the PvE patch has been delayed a day. So instead of Tuesday being the PvE day and Wednesday being patch day, Wednesday's the PvE day, and then Thursday's the patch day. By the way, so with Tristana, the cooldown on her ultimate is getting increased, one of her safety tools. Even when she doesn't have flash, it's going up from 100, 85, and 70 to 120, 110, and 100 at max rank level 16. So, again, when it comes to her safety, part of Tristana's problem is without flash, she still has her jump and can knock away opponents. It makes it so that what's the point of blowing her flash, because honestly, she'll still probably escape anyways, and so they kind of want to hit her safetiness when they come to these buffs in this patch, and then they're also hitting her again in 8.5 they mentioned. But what they want to do, what they also mentioned in a context post, is they don't want to actually hit her power, they just want to hit how safe she is, especially in lane, make her weaker in lane, make her have more of a weakness in lane. Now when I hear that, one of the things I'm hoping is, oh, so she can't buff her CC anymore with the Flame Chompers. So that way if you try and go in with a trade, she can't just rocket jump out of there. Well, for that we're going to have to see in 8.5. That isn't this patch, it's only 8.4. They're only doing the ultimate kind of nerf, if you will. But that's the reason why, it's a safetiness thing. So if you do try to go in on her in lane at level 6, that's going to be on a greater cooldown depending on how long the laning phase goes, of course, if it's not snowballing one way or the other. And as such, maybe that might be a little bit of an advantage if you can get her to blow that, ultimate cooldown, knowing that now instead of it being at 100, cooldown, it's at 120. So about 2-minute cooldown of trading time to maybe try and CC her with like an engaged support like Leona or something. However you usually play against Tristana, basically what this changes is that after you make her blow her ultimate, you'll have an extra 20 seconds to deal with trying to maybe lock her down and destroy her in lane. Another change, which is kind of exciting depending on who you ask, is to Twitch, because Twitch has actually kind of just been a long time old school Jinx counter. So this actually change is a direct buff to Jinx in the sense that if Twitch is weaker, Jinx tends to be a little bit stronger. Not necessarily that Jinx is actually getting a meaningful buff or anything. Now this is like a huge counter to her, so now she's just gonna run away with the lane or anything like that. But part of Twitch's problem right now also is that he's just too good. He's been good for like a whole year now. He was good in the lethality meta, he was good in the Blade of the Ruined King meta, he was good with the crit items, he was good with the Ardent Sensor meta, and he's still actually kind of good to this day. So what they are doing though is they're lowering the base damage on his E Contaminate from 20, 35, 50, 65, and 80 to 20, 25, 30, 35, and 40. A whole 40 by level 5. And depending on what Twitch player you ask, this could be an ability that was maxed first, and there's a lot of damage just lost on that. It should make trading a bit easier against Twitch in lane now, because when he throws the cast down, and if you walk out of it, you shouldn't have taken as much damage now from the poison and such. You might be able to trade back with the rocket launcher as well. Who knows? Again, a lot of what I'm saying actually in this video, I just want to clarify, because I forgot to clarify it, and I should have. I apologize. This isn't my take on what is and isn't fact, I guess is what I'm saying. This is my take on some ideas that we can then talk about a couple of these matchups in the comment section down below. So obviously what I've said about, say, Tristana or Kalista, if you disagree, by all means say you disagree, and as such explain like what you think the matchup is actually going to be like based on some of the numbers that I've told you that has happened. Now, one of the final things I want to talk about real quick before the AP item changes is actually Zed. Assassins, they've kind of been wanting to be buffed for a while, and I noticed that Zed's ultimate at late game will actually only be 60 seconds, and that's not counting cooldown reduction he's going to build. So by all means, if you've ever built a defensive item in your life, Guardian Angel might be something that you're going to want to consider somehow plugging into your build. I just thought I'd throw that out there because right now it's a whole 80 seconds, and then with cooldown reduction it might get down towards the 60 seconds. But usually when the ultimate is at 60 seconds, it can get down to 30-second cooldown depending on how much cooldown reduction you take in runes and items. So just be aware of that. So then really just to finalize on the AP items, not really a lot has changed there too much. Some things have switched in terms of what does flat pin, what does, full-on damage over time stuff. Why I'm bringing it up is, again, some mages are trying to be opened up to the bottom lane. That's what Riot wants to do for the mid-game. So you might see Cassiopeia, Ryze, or some other mages eventually over the course of the next couple of patches start moving down towards the bottom lane. So that in a matchup sense could change as well. Probably not this patch, but this could be the earliest patch we see it because some of these updates to items are pretty good in terms of cost or what they do in abilities. So that's all for this video. Thank you so much for watching this video if you did. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe as well, but I don't know which video will be next because life will be quite a mess. So until next time, take care from the Fire God FS. Thank you for watching.